Your hips are supposed to be strong and flexible, but for most people, they just aren't. The good news is, I'm gonna show you my favorite moves to build stronger and more flexible hips right now. One of the main things that I notice that people have issues with in their hips is their ability to have internal and external rotation of the hip, okay? So probably the first move I like to start people out with their hips is what's called the hip 90-90, and you can do it from a chair to start. So I'm gonna show you the chair version. All you're gonna do is sit in a chair with a nice wide stance like this. You're gonna drop this knee down like this, and this knee to the outside, okay? And then you're gonna rotate the other side. You're gonna drop that knee down to this, and that knee to the outside. So this one, from the chair, you're gonna focus a lot more on this internal rotation. You're probably gonna feel a lot more stretch in the top of the hip, on the inside of the hip, as you drop this knee down, and not as much stretch out here. But you're just gonna try to build that fluidity, that smoothness, as you move from side to side. Now, from there, you can move to lower and lower surfaces as you do this, which is gonna make the movement a little bit more challenging, right? So I'm gonna just jump down to the floor, but if you need to, you can sit on an ottoman, on a couple cushions, whatever you need to feel comfortable. But the same thing applies here. Feet are a little bit wide, toes slightly turned outward. We have our hands behind us for support, and we're gonna rotate the knees to the inside and the outside, and then we're gonna rotate the knees to the inside and the outside. We're just gonna move back and forth through those two ranges of motion, okay? And remember, the further back you lean on this, the easier this will be. The more you're able to be upright and pointed towards this leg, the more you'll feel this stretch, okay? And eventually, we wanna be able to move from hip 90-90 to hip 90-90 with our hands out in front of us, which tells us we've got pretty good internal and external rotation of the hips. So just like everything, you can practice this motion whenever your hips feel tight, but just as a great mobility drill to loosen up the internal and external rotation of the hips to make the hips feel significantly better, okay? Now the next movement I wanna focus on is stretching these adductors right here on the insides of the thighs. For a lot of people, those muscles can end up being really, really tight, okay? And so you can do this again by sitting on higher objects like a cushion or on top of a chair, but essentially a straddle stretch is very simple. It's bringing your legs to the outside as far as you can, feel comfortable, right? Nice tall posture. And then the way I like to kind of move in through this movement is I kind of bring my belly button towards the ground and back up. And just little bow movements like this. Nothing big, just back and forth, right? And you can play with your ankles too if your knees feel tight. You can pump your ankles a few times. That's sometimes helpful. Just going back and forth like that. And you can do the stretch just like all the others, 30 to 90 seconds. Loosen up the joints. You should feel the stretch real deeply through here, right? And you can also play around with the stretch by going from side to side. You know, oh, I'm gonna stretch this hamstring out a little more. I'm gonna stretch this hamstring out a little bit more. Come back to the middle, move through the middle again, right? So just working in this middle splits right here is a great way to stretch the adductors and make the hips feel significantly better, okay? So stretch number one was hip 90-90. Stretch number two was this middle splits, or they call it the straddle stretch, right? And again, if you need to, you can do the straddle stretch in a seated position. So if you're real tight, you know, coming right here, you can even have the knees bent a little bit and just pushing the knees out with your hands. And if you feel that stretch on the insides of your groin right here, then you're still doing a straddle stretch. We just want to stretch these muscles, create more range of motion for our legs to open themselves outward so that we can start to do more movements more freely and have our bodies feel significantly better. Now the last one is going to be a hip external rotation, but really we're trying to focus on the glutes. We're trying to loosen up this side of the body, like right around here, around the hip capsule. And so for this one, you can cross the ankle over the knee like this, and then you turn your body towards that ankle, and then you bow your chest towards that ankle. So for a lot of people, this might be too much. You can straighten this bottom leg a little bit more. That makes it easier, okay? So the further your foot is away from you on the bottom, the easier this will be. The more it is towards you, the harder this will be. And same thing with your chest. This is easier leaning back. This becomes a lot harder leaning your body forward, okay? And just stick to the breathing pattern that we talked about. Just taking a big breath in, create a little tension, and then let all that tension go, and just move your body towards your ankle, okay? And really, this one should feel fantastic, stretching the outside of the hip through the glute. It's such a wonderful stretch, and it can make your hips feel significantly better. So give this one a shot. If you like it, do it every day, do it consistently, and it's gonna really help you loosen up your hips, all right? So those are my 3 favorite hip stretches that are kind of loosening up this lateral and rotational aspects of your hips. The next step I wanna talk about with hips is your glutes, okay? One of the common problems for people having hip pain, for people not being able to, run up a flight of stairs, for people, having lower back pain, etc., is not having good glute strength, okay? So we're gonna focus on how do you activate the glutes. And I'm gonna show you my favorite move today. It's called the prone glute activation. So you're gonna start by laying face down like this. Again, on the bed, whatever. It's just wherever you feel 100% comfortable. You can put a pillow in front of you. You can put your forehead on your hands if you need to, whatever feels comfortable. From there, you're gonna curl your heels up towards the sky like this, okay? And all you're gonna do is try to lift your knee off the ground about 1/2 inch. But first thing we're gonna do is this, push the pelvis into the ground. So you're gonna push the pelvis in the ground and then lift the knee like 1/2 inch. And when you do that, what you should feel is this muscle right here firing like crazy. Hold it for a few seconds until you feel a little bit of a burn and relax. Alternate sides, push the pelvis down, lift the knee up. Oh, feel that glute burn, and then relax, okay? Push the pelvis down on the ground, lift that knee up, feel that burn, and then relax, okay? Now, if you're new to glute activation, practice this one and try to really build that mind-muscle connection with what it feels like to fire your glutes. When you feel the glutes squeezing and you can start to squeeze your glute muscles, like I can squeeze my glute muscle right here, like anytime I want. When you've rebuilt that mind-muscle connection, now you have access to that muscle. And you can do things like lunge and squat and go upstairs in a way that feels more pain-free because you have the strongest muscle in your lower body fully active, okay? Now, once you're able to activate your glutes, and again, the way you know you're able to do this is, can you squeeze your glutes while you're just laying here without lifting your legs or anything? If you can already do that, then fantastic. Flip over, and I'll show you my favorite move. It's called the glute bridge, all right? But there's a few things that people do wrong with the glute bridge. I'm gonna pay attention to these form cues because they're gonna make a big difference on your glute bridge, okay? First, a lot of people, when they do a glute bridge, they put their palms down like this. But when I put my palms down, I roll my shoulders forward. When I roll my shoulders forward, I make my posture worse. So first thing we do with the glute bridge, palms toward the sky, fingertips away from the ears. That's gonna help us work our posture because we have good posture in this position, okay? Second thing people do wrong is they push up on their toes like this. When we push up on our toes, we force the quads to activate. So instead of pushing up on our toes, what do? We lift our toes to our nose, and then we push into our heels as we do this, okay? And now for some people, the third thing that I see people doing wrong is they lift up and they extend through the spine. You can kind of see how my back is arched right here. See how my back's like really arched backwards? That sometimes can put a lot of pressure on the lower back. So instead of doing that, palms toward the sky, away from your ears, right? Toes to the nose, and then as you lift, squeeze your glutes just like you practiced, tuck your pelvis, and lift up as much as you can, but your spine will still be neutral. You're not arching like this, right, where your back's arched. You're squeezing your glutes and tucking your pelvis, which is protecting your lower back. So practicing the glute bridge, slow and controlled, making sure that your palms are toward the sky, your toes are towards your nose, and you're squeezing your glutes can be a fantastic move that you can put into your workouts. Or you can just practice, like I said, every day. You can even do this one less, maybe 3 days a week, working up to the place where you can do 3 rounds of minute to 90 seconds, right? That's a fantastic goal to try and hit when it comes to the glute bridge. And if you can build strong glutes, it's gonna help support the rest of your body because really strong glutes help with the hips. It's such an amazing thing to have access to if you wanna be able to do amazing stuff with your lower body and feel good again in your lower body, okay? I really hope you enjoyed this video and that the moves I showed you will help you feel better in your body. If you want to feel even better in your body, well, then you can watch this video right here. Otherwise, if you want workouts that will make your whole body feel amazing, well, all you have to do is click the link below, take our free quiz, and we'll build you a personalized at-home workout plan that you can try out for free.